Hello everybody, this is a short video on leadership. Leadership is one of the essential ingredients of organizational performance management or even department performance management. So in this short video, I lay out a very simple framework to analyze leadership. The same framework can be used to develop yourself as a leader, to find out where your gap areas are or where your focus is and whether it's the right area. The same framework can also be used to design and implement leadership development programs for employees, say for frontline managers or middle level managers or senior managers. Now the framework is a very simple framework. I call it the focus spectrum. At one end of the spectrum we have ceremonial activities, followed by administrative/operational activities. And at the other end of the spectrum, I have strategic activities. By ceremonial activities, I mean those events where predominantly discussions, talking, etc. happens. Now, in certain organizations, you would find employees using these phrases. It's all talk, no action. The employees will sit in the audience and they'll say it's applause and smiles all around. Or in certain cases, meetings and eatings are the name of the game, because there's not much conversion of those discussions into action. So the ceremonies become the guiding factor, and the leader believes that man becomes great by ceremonies and turns Chanakya's quotation on his head. Chanakya's motto was, man becomes great by his deeds. By administrative and operational focus, I imply focus on routine transactions. For most challenges, if there is a rule, the leader will go as per the rule. He will never challenge the status quo. If there's a problem which does not fit the rule, the problem might end up persisting. Now, because of this insistence on rules, the leader often misses out the big picture or does not keep in touch with the external environment and is forced to react when things blow up. At the extreme end of the spectrum, we have strategic focus areas. A leader in this part of the spectrum always is engaging with the environment, by the customers, with the competitors, with new technology areas, trying to experiment with new products, new markets, new business models, trying to force his employees or her employees to think outside the box. And in order to carry the team along, he or she will constantly be engaging in this working, learning, sharing the knowledge, therefore connecting with people and communicating. So the role of ceremonies is not minimized here, but everything goes together in this part of the spectrum. So if you want to use this spectrum to see how leaders lead, look at where they focus. Some leaders are more focused on operations, some leaders are more focused on strategic issues. If you want to see where you are as a leader, ask a colleague or a trusted friend to rate you on this spectrum. Most good leaders or most good leaders who have developed the organizations or have taken the organizations to greater heights usually follow a common trajectory. They start with the strategic direction. They set the goal of the organization. They don't start with very fabulous astronomical goals. They start with achievable goals. But they give the direction to the company where this organization will be in the next 5 years or in the next quarter. If you are in a high velocity environment, you might be focusing on quarters as the time horizon. If you are in a steady state environment, you might be engaging in planning for the next 5 years or next 3 years. After setting out the strategic agenda, you might then focus on activities or processes via which you achieve the strategic goals. Otherwise, the strategy plan remains on paper, or it remains as a plaque on the walls. You also engage in constant checking with the strategic goals. So there is a constant PDCA cycle going on in the organization, with strategy as the driving engine. And to ensure that there is a common thinking among all the stakeholders, among all the employees, the role of ceremonies to communicate and connect with everybody is always engaged in. There is no such distinction as strategy formulation or strategic implementation. For these kind of leaders, you will never find these kind of phrases, oh, these are operational issues, let's not bother about operational issues. You would find these people focus on operations with high intensity, not less intensity. Because otherwise, strategy formulation remains a paper and pen doodling exercise. Such leaders are actually rare. Most of them have risen from the ranks, and since they have risen up from the ranks, they have very strong command over operationals. They have very strong command over administrative issues. They are usually aware of their strengths and weaknesses, and where weaknesses are there, they surround themselves with exceptional advisors, predominantly the best in the field. In contrast to the opposite end are people who are focused only on the ceremonial part. They remain confined to the ceremonies, or they remain confined to the rules and the existing operations. They cannot think outside the box. As the saying says, they eat and die within the box. They cannot think beyond. You discuss any new idea, it will be cut down. It will be not accepted. This is the best case scenario for this leader. It is okay in a stable environment. The worst case scenario, those leaders surround themselves with a coterie of yes sir people or yes ma'am people. And they think that this comfortable existence will continue forever. All bad news is filtered out. Anything which is bad will not be allowed to be passed through to the leader. And therefore the organization is destroyed by not adapting to the environment. The leader does not destroy the organization. The organization destroys by itself by not adapting to the environment. So when a newcomer joins an organization, if you have a person, a second generation person coming as the leader, he or she would usually join as a ceremonial leader. Even a fresh MBA student will join at some point where a designation is given. So the ceremonial part will always be there at the starting point of most leaders' career. But one has to move forward, one has to move fast. The desire to learn must be there before you develop yourself as a leader, or a second generation person develops himself or herself as a leader. The first stage is not to think strategically. The first stage is to master the operations, to be a maestro in all the issues regarding administrative, transactional, process-oriented issues. So everything that goes on in the organization, he or she should be able to be a master of that. My personal experience, and this is also my personal bias, unless somebody has worked in the field, he or she can never be a good civil engineer. He or she can never be a good designer, because you don't know what is actually executed out in the field. Similarly, if you want to be a good supervisor or a plant manager of a textile plant or a mill manager, you have to stand where the worker works, breathe the cotton dust, and then only you are aware of the working conditions. Then only you know under what conditions a worker works. That understanding of working conditions, understanding of the operations goes hand in hand. Once you have been able to develop yourself as a master, people will forgive your past, that you have started your career with zero knowledge. The image of a newcomer will be replaced by that of a maestro, and people will respect you. Not because you are holding a particular position, but because you have developed yourself as somebody who is aware of what goes on in a particular organization. It's only when you have developed yourself as a master, then you move on to looking at strategy. You start looking at strategic issues, start questioning things about strategy. You start defining the strategic agenda. Along with that, you start challenging the old ways of doing things. Why are things done in this way? What is a better way to do things? What are our competitors doing? Can we be better than the competitor? And so on and so forth. So this mastery of the operations is then followed by the PDCA cycle with strategy as the driving engine. You have to be careful, because how do you know that you are taking the right direction? How do you know that whatever actions you are taking are in the right manner, are in the best possible manner? Because for any action, you can have positive outcomes. You can also have negative outcomes. You can have negative outcomes even in a ceremonial activity. What can go wrong in a ceremony? Lots of things. You can end up cracking inappropriate jokes or recycled Reader's Digest jokes. You can use slang language without knowing it. You can present stale ideas and say these are the best ideas one has come up with. Or you're not aware of who is who. A classic example would be our minister from Kerala when asked about Muhammad Ali after the death of the famous boxer. You can make inappropriate comparisons or analogies. Just before the elections in Kerala, the analogy with people from Somalia would be a case in point. You can create a disaster in Q&A. You're not prepared for that unstructured question. You can create fiascos with those answers, and the YouTube videos are full of those kind of fiascos. So therefore, to be a leader, to be a complete leader, using that spectrum, you have to be a strategist, you have to be expert in operations, and you have to be a master of ceremonies. When learning, take teachers or mentors who are best in the field. Second best, as long as you don't have any resource constraints. Try the best which you can obtain. Not always money is the reason somebody agrees to be a mentor. It may be because of the honor you accord to them. It may be because of the knowledge sharing which you facilitate. So they become interested in developing you. But you have to do your homework. And you have to do your homework twice. First is when selecting the mentor or the guide or the teacher. The second is when the assignments they give it to you. Because please understand, the expert who has developed himself or herself as an expert over 2 or 3 decades of working in the field, he or she will make you go through that torturous route. Knowledge cannot be transferred just like that. So you have to be ready to do that homework. It's not an easy job to become a master. Becoming a master takes hard labor. Once you have done some bit of training, some bit of development, and when you have to take real decisions, again, you might find yourself in doubtful situations. Whenever in doubt, use advisors. Again, the same criteria. The best money or honor can obtain for you. Second best, don't even think about it. Or delegate to the right person in your organization. Don't have any egos about it. You're not delegating each and every aspect. You might be delegating some aspect about ceremonies or about a particular event. Instead of doing or getting caught up in a fiasco kind of situation, delegate it, get it executed. Life would be simpler. Not everybody can know everything. So try to have specialists in your organization. And that's where you have to surround yourself with the best people in different fields, subject matter experts of different subjects. You might have failures. In case of failures, examine what went wrong. Is it because of your advisors? If it is because of your advisors, change your advisors. Only if you have listened fully to your advisors. Those disasters may be at the ceremonial part, or those disasters may be at the strategic part. Heads should roll. The famous statement made by Rahul Gandhi that heads will roll. But heads will roll only if you have relied completely on them. Yes, you have completely relied on them. There has been failure. Be mercilessly. Completely, mercilessly eliminate those advisors. Otherwise, it is your head which has to take a fresh look at whether you have learned the subject, whether you are a good leader, or you have to start the learning exercise again